What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Late Dive podcast. And as always, I'm Patty, and I'm joined by my good friend Nerdy once again.
Hello, guys.
Tonight, yes, hey Nerdy. And tonight we have another guest with us, a good friend of ours that shares same passion for F1 as we do. He is CMS. What's up, boys?
Yo.
How we doing?
Lovely.
Doing great.
Lovely jubbly.
Yeah.
Good. I won't waste our time just like episode 1, boys. I'm happy to have you guys here. Let's get right into it and talk about what happened last weekend in Spa, Belgium. You guys ready?
Yeah,
Ready.
100%. Let's do this.
All right, let's talk about it. And first, we always start with the winner. And even though I thought I was going to say another name tonight, a few hours after the race, that changed. So let's go with the podium order. Lewis Hamilton, Oscar Piastri once again, and Charles Leclerc. Hint, didn't impress me at all, but still on the podium. So let's give the new kid the floor. What did you think of the podium? We'll talk about the others after, but Hamilton once again, Piastri once again, Leclerc back on the podium. What did you think, CMS?
Yeah, Lewis drove a great first stint. The guy was saying he had tons of tires at the end of all of his stints through his pit strategy, and you could clearly tell like he was untouched. The second he got in clear air, no one was ever catching him. He drove a really strong race. The entire race, he just thought, this is a clear, easy victory. No one's catching up to me. All of a sudden, his teammate one stops him. He's pissed. We'll get into that. Piastri out of nowhere outperforming Lando, I think, for the second race in a row. Hungary is a bit of a other thing with the strategy. And then, Charles Leclerc, everyone's been talking about Ferrari being washed and, Sainz is being better than Charles. And Charles put in a really good performance to come P3 at Spa.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Nerdy?
The finishing order at the end of the race was a little bit of a surprise. I did not see that undercut from Russell there. Definitely believe that Lewis Hamilton deserved that. He drove his butt off that race. Like CMS said, had phenomenal pace, had great tire wear. So his performance or him being on top step at the end of the day isn't much of a surprise. Leclerc, though, I feel like he did nothing all race and just kind of ended up on the podium. I mean, what did he do, really? I mean, he was kind of lost out there in nowhere land, racing by himself.
I totally agree with you. That came out of nowhere. Nerdy, do you remember last week we spoke about this on episode 1? I said Hamilton would finish third. I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you asked me a very important question. You said, do you actually think Mercedes can be on the podium again at a different track like Spa? And I said, let's see if they keep improving, because it's been steady. And your boy, like, this team just shows that they keep working and they keep progressing, and it gave them the result it gave them, and it should have been a 1-2.
Yeah, it definitely. They had that 1-2 unlock. It's unfortunate that George got that disqualification of the race. Not really sure exactly how they made that mistake. Was it that he generally didn't pick enough rubber up at the end of the race, or they miscalculated something on the car with the ballast? I really don't know. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. At this rate, I kind of feel like we're going to see them strong after the summer break. They're probably going to bring some upgrades, and they'll be just as strong. So it's good to see. Well, good and bad, but you know what I mean.
Let's talk about it. CMS, I'll throw it down to you. Let's talk about Russell. Unbelievable performance. 34 laps on these hards is unreal. Did not think he was going to do it when he said he could, or he just kept insinuating the tires were okay. Let's keep going. Gets the race win. Did not stand. Got disqualified. Last I heard of it, they're even going as far to say that 1.5 could have been just like water weight loss, which I don't necessarily believe. But Russell disqualified. Heartbreak. What do you think of the whole situation? What did you think of Russell's performance? Because it was a performance. It was unbelievable.
Russell did an amazing performance. I think the people that started on the hard tire, I think there was only 1 or 2 drivers that started on the hard, had that initial data from Mercedes. Everyone else started on the medium and went to the hard. they kind of got to see what the tire life was like on each tire. Clearly, the medium just wasn't lasting for anybody, whether you did 1 or 2 stints on it. George figured, yeah, these hards just they felt like they were still hanging on for him. His delta for his tire degradation was incredibly low, like half of what it should have been, according to some F1 TV presenters. So, super impressive way to take care of the car. Mercedes looked incredible for a track that was always known as a Red Bull track. Mercedes wasn't even that good on Friday, it seemed, and then just all of a sudden show up and have a very dominant one too. With, yes, Piastri was catching him, but yeah, as we saw, passing at Spa is a whole other gamble there and a gambit to try and figure out. Apparently, the cars are too low on downforce to pass at a track that looks like it's so perfect for passing. I hope Spa never leaves the calendar, especially with 26 regulations when you're going to have so much slipstream. I have to drive a little more aggressive. I hope there's more passes, and it shows that Spa is such an amazing track again. As people are saying, it's a snooze fest, but Mercedes really showed, even despite off-track drama, it can still be a good race. It can come down to the wire, and that's why I'm liking this season so much.
So 1.5 kilos was reported. First question, did they know? Do you guys think Mercedes knew? And how much is that in terms of pace? Like, is it 1.5 seconds over the whole race? Is it 4 seconds? Is it 8 seconds? I know it depends if you're following a car or not. The weight will always help, but how much pace did you think was affected? And do you think Mercedes knew? We'll start with you, Nerdy. Did you think Mercedes knew they were underweight? They made it seem like they didn't, but we all know every team would have said that. But 1.5 is not a lot.
Honestly, it's hard for me to say whether they actually knew or not. I genuinely think that at this stage in the game, they probably wouldn't risk it for 1.5 kilograms because ultimately, yes, I believe with calculations, it worked out to be 2.5 seconds worth of race pace around Spa. I don't think they would have jeopardized a race for 2.5 seconds. That just doesn't seem feasible. But whether it's him losing weight or water weight, I don't understand the argument because this weight comes without the driver factored in, right? This is the car's minimum weight, so I'm not sure where that excuse came from. But yeah, I don't think they honestly knew about it.
Yeah, how about you, C-Mash?
Yeah, I can't say that they would have known. I mean, there's no reason for them to throw away Constructors' points. I know Mercedes thinks they're out of the Constructors' Championship, but if they're going 1-2, 1-3 at tracks all the time, I'm picking up surprise wins. Max and Lando, the championship contenders, down in 4th, 5th, 6th place in races. There's no reason Mercedes can't claw back a gap in the remaining 10 races, at least in my opinion. I know that's a lot of points to make up. Even 25 to second is a 7-point gap, so there's a lot of ground that can be made up in that. Do I think they would want to sacrifice that and go so low that they're going to end up being 1.5 kilograms under? It's the nature of the sport to try and get as close to that limit as you can. A miscalculation perhaps taking them under. It could happen. I know it's happened a few times in the past. It sucks that it happened to a race winner because, as you were saying, Pat, George drove an incredible race, an incredible just single stop. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know how much that time affected it, how much fuel he could have saved, what that would have come down to, tire scrubbing, tire wear, degradation on a 2-stop, maybe his tires would have been newer, fuller, whatever it be. Yeah, 1.5 kilograms. I don't think that's a planned Mercedes thing. I think that's just luck of the draw on that one.
But you know what's crazy, guys? 1.5 kilos might not seem like much, but it might have just helped the tire deg just enough for one lap to make a difference for one lap where Hamilton could have passed him. And that's just my opinion. He was that close. It came down to the wire. And that if that is a 2.5 second difference over the entire race, maybe Hamilton finishes ahead. Just a thought. But that's it doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't. It's when you're racing in this caliber, those fine margins add up to so much. And considering that the top 3 drivers were all within a second of one another, that 2.5 seconds is actually a big deal when you look at it in that aspect.
Yeah, and just quickly, we hinted at it a little bit earlier, but to me, it seemed like the coverage, both actually F1 and the British coverage, kept talking about the race as if it was like super exciting, and I did not feel that way. If it wasn't for the 2 straights where it was like regular, like just drive by with DRS, a couple moves, yes, the drama with Russell holding onto his tires. I can't say watching it on TV, I was having a great time, to be honest with you. Like, I know Spa's iconic. I don't want it to go anywhere. Iconic corners, elevation. But to me, that was hard to watch for at least half the race.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I
Well,
feel like there wasn't a lot of action throughout the race to really make it that exciting. I think the most excitement was at the end of the race, whether seeing if Hamilton can close that gap. But yeah, ultimately, not too much action. Max made no progress through the field, so that was kind of boring. So I mean,
We're
yeah.
gonna talk about that. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that.
Okay. But yeah, no, yeah. Ultimately, this is definitely nowhere as good as Hungary.
Yeah, definitely. Lots big difference, but the drama in Hungary, as we know, was a different kind of drama. It was on the radio.
Yep.
So, all right, CMS, you mentioned it there earlier. Just quickly, my next question: where the hell was Norris's pace? And not just compared to Oscar, who's already become a favorite of mine, favorite of a lot of people. But it just seemed like stuck around no one. Just didn't seem like he was into it or part of any action, or he was just very stagnant.
Yeah, when you have a start as bad as Lando Norris has been having the past how many number of races now, he's always losing positions off the race start. And they always say you can't win a position lap one, turn one, or you can't win a race lap one, turn one. But you certainly can lose it, it seems. He's lost pole position a couple of times now. He's lost 3 positions at the start where Max has gained 3, and that's already huge on the competition. Around them, it's huge psychologically. Norris knows that Max is now right behind him when he should have had a ton of cars in between to play with. The DRS train way more powerful this year than it was last. The passing seemed even harder, even though to me that's still a fun watch. You got to figure out, how you end up passing each other, whether it's going to be done in the pits, whether it's going to be a tire offset, delta, and undercut, overcut. I still find that entertaining. For me, Spa is always a cool track to watch just because you get the best views of the best looking track anyway. Yeah, you got these cars going flat out around corners, so why can't Norris do it the same as Piastri or the same as these other cars, make the passes? And Piastri pulled off an amazing move on Charles Leclerc on the outside at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Norris just, didn't seem to be able to make the headway, and I've seen a lot of people talk about that mental battle. He's already almost given up on the Drivers' Championship after Hungary. Everyone knows he was really upset to give away that win because he's always thinking about that championship, but after that one and after Max finishing ahead now again in Spa, I don't think he's all in it there mentally.
Yeah, it seems that way. Nerdy, maybe Norris needs to get pissed off and yell at his engineer or something. Maybe he needs to keep doing that, kind of like a la Max, and kind of get angry to get good performances. What did you think of not just his pace, but just his whole race, his whole demeanor?
I don't know what's going on with Lando. His race starts are just pitiful. I'm not sure if he needs to spend more time just with race starts. But yeah, that's definitely, I think, his biggest Achilles heel right now. Overall, the race, he just fell backwards. He seemed to have no pace, couldn't make any passes. I think he's really going to look back at this one and regret his performance.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe maybe what he needs is more time on the sim, guys.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he needs to do some 24-hour races.
Yeah. Speaking of sim, let's get to Max and Red Bull. It's been a while since we've talked F1, and we kind of don't talk about Red Bull for a while, and it's just kind of where they finished, and the car is nowhere near where it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But on the contrary to what you said earlier, Nerdy, because it was so hard to pass compared to other years at Spa, I actually saw Max charging through the field, is what I saw. And what I mean by that is it was extremely difficult. And for him to finish 4th after taking an engine penalty, 4th because of Russell's disqualification, but still 4th, 5th, whatever you want to call it, for him to finish 4th, get that chunk of points, but get the points get more points than Norris, which is, you always want to get more points than the second place in the championship, which was most important to him. So you said, Nerdy, Max kind of went nowhere. I don't know if you were joking or not, but he did finish fourth. He did finish the Norris, so he accumulated more points. There was nowhere to go, really, kind of like maybe half the grid. It was hard to pass. So what did you think? And still not impressed with the Red Bull car, though.
Yeah, the Red Bull car, I don't know what's going on with them. Like I said in last week's video, I don't know if they've got some failed upgrades or if they've had to remove something in the car because of whatever reason. But with a car that started the season off so dominant, going from 11th to 5th, essentially, that's not really progress. Yes, it's good for him in the points, but that's not huge.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that point. And hopefully, if you're a Red Bull fan, if you're a Max fan, hopefully it has more to do with, even if the car is in decline, they're kind of working on next year's car, and hopefully he thinks he's going to wrap up the championship. But it might not be good enough. It's certainly not going to be good enough for constructors.
No,
because Mercedes are charging, McLaren are there, and God damn, I don't know if Ferrari's ever going to get their shit together, but and certainly not Aston. But I don't know. I guess I just saw it differently because the end result, he seemed content after the race, and the end result did not hurt him. Mm-hmm. And certainly did not hurt him as much as it was going to hurt him, because that McLaren car is just flat out better than the Red Bull car.
Yeah.
So the big blunder here was Norris. He was the one who missed out on a huge opportunity.
Oh, 100%.
What do you think, CMS?
Yeah, Norris is just not performing to what that car can do, and I'd like to even throw in Mercedes now. I think they've maybe outdeveloped McLaren, winning 3 of the last 4 races. I know Austria was a bit of a blunder between Max and Lando getting together, but to win 3 out of 4 as a constructor shows huge signs of progress. Yes, McLaren had an amazing car since MLS, since Miami. Ferrari's been nowhere since Monaco, although supposedly the next couple of tracks coming up, like your Baku, your Singapore, those kind of tracks, the long straights, the tight, narrow corners, those are kind of like a Ferrari favorite. Similar to Monaco, just, add in those straights. We might see a little bit of a bounce back from them. I'd say maybe just a few more podiums. I don't know about a win for that Scarlet Red Ferrari car. But I'm looking to see McLaren, Mercedes go back and forth. I don't think Red Bull, the way they're at right now, the way they've come about this pace now and how late we are in the season, I don't see them back on the top step unless Max really pulls off another race of all time, which I know he's capable of. He is that kind of driver. More hours on the sim could help him with that. Might detract from it. I don't see Red Bull. I don't see Red Bull being the same car that they had back in Bahrain 14 races ago.
Well, yeah, I agree with you 90%. I think that car is nowhere. But I do think that Max is that good that he can still win a couple of races, and that'll be just him wrestling the crap out of that car. Because that car, like Nerdy and I talked last week, that car can't get on power, can't jump curbs, can't do anything with that car. And it's almost like Albon said about Max, like sensitivity at 20, like it's at 40 now. Like it's so hard to control that car. And but he's that good. He's one of the greatest ever. Let's call it top 5, top 10, whatever you want to do. But so he might be able to, and there might be contact at the front, especially teammates here and there. So we'll see. But speaking of teammates, not a great performance for Perez. Checo, man, where do you want to go with Checo, Nerdy? Like, where do we start with this guy?
Oh man, I don't know. I honestly don't know how to even approach that question, because I think we touched on this last week. I don't know if he is still suited for that seat. And it just recently got announced that he's going to be continuing for the rest, or at least for a couple of races after the summer break. But his performance is just not there. And for a team that is actively leading the Constructors' Championship, this can't continue.
Yeah, I agree. And then to me, it seems like the announcement indicates he's going to be with Red Bull till the end of the year. At least it's looking that way. But I don't mind him staying and finishing off the year. I don't mind that. I don't like mid-season changes. I think the guys should get their shot. They go through momentum shifts and all that. But do you guys think, I'll start with you, CMS, do you guys think it has more to do with finishing this year's contract, or is he still in that seat because he brings in so much money through sponsors?
I think that is the nail on the head. It's the Mexican side of it, the crowd that he can bring to the Mexican Grand Prix, which is also like a Spa. It seems like a great place for overtakes, but doesn't always put on a great race every year. With Checo out of a top seat, I think Liberty Media is predicting that race is going to absolutely flop in numbers, and they can't take a loss like that. So Checo being top seat, certainly a pull there. Him being in Red Bull, of course, is going to bring in the sponsor money, all the Spanish-speaking fans, of course. You're comparing him to a Daniel Ricciardo who's got more than enough backing, sponsor-wise, and enough attention that would justify putting him in that Red Bull for one last kick of the can for half a season. Maybe they want to give him a full season next year. Checo staying in this seat, though, if that is the case, I mean, he's marked as a Red Bull driver. He could still be moved to V-Carb under that family. But I think if they're going to give Daniel the second half of this season, they wouldn't give him next season. So I think that's what they're kind of lining up. Hopefully Daniel can keep up his momentum swing. But yeah, Checo to have momentum in the first 4 or 5 races, get a contract for the next year or two, and then drop off the rest of the season, that's not momentum. That is taking it till you make it. And he's made it this far, and I don't know how he's continuing on another race, but supposedly he's got the rest of the season.
Well, Nerdy, you said last week that, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, Nerdy. You said Ricardo's a bottom 5 driver now. Mm-hmm. You know, he's just so likable, and he's just so charismatic, and he's somewhat of a legend of the sport, and he's getting up there. So I think CMS is right. I think you're right. I think that might be the plan. But if it is, as we talked about, it's not always the most deserving that gets the seat. I get that. But is that the best move, Nerdy, for Red Bull? Because I don't disagree with you. He's, in terms of deserving it, he doesn't.
Commercially, I think it's a smart move. Like CMS alluded to, having the Mexican fans, purchase the merchandise, sell the Grand Prix, and support the team in every facet they possibly can. It is great for their bottom line. But then I question, is losing the constructors going to lose them more money than the fans bring in merch? And Liberty Media, I can see, yes, they want to sell the Mexican. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, Nerdy. I heard today, I could be way off on the number, but I know that just this year so far, Checo's brought in, it's millions and millions just in merchandise. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think, number could be wrong, I think it's like 18 million so far, just in merch, in Checo merch. So You're right, he is bringing in.
Yeah, he's really raking it in, but I don't remember what the payouts are for the teams for winning the constructors for second place, and I just don't know if the difference they're making in merch sales is going to account for the difference in them possibly losing constructors. If it is, then yeah, it's a great business move. If it's not, then they need to let them go, because not only are they throwing away constructors, they're ruining the team morale, right?
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sure he's happy, but deep down, these are all human beings. Mm-hmm. They just have a lot more money than we do. But but in terms of the human side of it is, can you actually put yourself in his shoes and how stressed out he's driving all year? Like how stressed he must be all year, every race, knowing all the critics, all the chatter, everybody talking about taking his seat. Like it just must be unbearable.
100%. I can barely finish a race in first place with that spinning, so I can't even cave. I cave under that kind of pressure, so no, I could not imagine what he's going through right now.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, we're talking about merch sales versus first and second in constructors. At this point, if they're looking at putting Daniel in that Red Bull seat, I think they're kind of giving up on constructors and accepting the merch and the things that come at them, but Red Bull's not selling road vehicles like all these other constructors are. They're just an energy brand. They're trying to bring awareness to the brand, get people to buy more of an energy drink. They're not trying to sell these $60, $200,000 cars. I mean, this is all about cashola for them, and the best way to get those eyes on you is to win.
Hmm.
I'm hearing that Max merch doesn't even sell as well as Checo merch. So, what's this really about? Do you want the eyes or do you want the money?
Both.
Yeah. Although the Red Bull stuff is selling for way more money than these fancy cars, I guarantee you. How many cans do you think they sell a day? And all these supercross shows and all these rally shows and the skydiving shows, and they have a million things going on, right? So, anyways, they're in there for a reason, and they're not going anywhere, no matter how good or bad they are, I think. But yeah, we'll leave it at that for Red Bull. But just quickly, you talked about it a little bit earlier, CMS. We'll start with you. To me, Leclerc gets a podium, but Ferrari is so unimpressive. It is so not the brand, the red Ferrari that's at the top of the game. It just feels like it's been forever since we've seen it consistently. They're stagnant. They're boring. The only excitement I've had from Ferrari, and there has been flashes from Leclerc, was the beginning of the year for Sainz. And I'm not shitting on Leclerc. I think he's got more pace than Sainz. He makes a few more mistakes, but he's got more pace. He's going to be a world champion, I believe. But Sainz, the first 3, 4, 5 races of the year, that was the excitement. And where are they now? They're not fun to watch, plain and simple.
Yeah, no, Ferrari's not making any progress. It seems I haven't heard of many upgrade packages from them. It always seems like they make their car really good on power and then really good top end speed. I don't know how they're able to do both, but I think the tracks like a Vegas, like a Baku, are really going to favor them. Really be their specialty. You have that Leclerc pole from 2022 that nobody saw coming. That just seemed to be Red Bull's dominance is the straight line speed. That's where they're going to shine. They do usually have that, but now we're going to other tracks that they say it's going to suit the Ferrari. I don't think Ferrari suits Ferrari at this point. They're not showing up. I mean, they're not making the big categorical blunders they were making in 2022 when they thought they were in a championship fight. But yeah, that was probably the most undeserved Ferrari podium I've ever seen. Charles looked like he was nowhere and then just found himself in fourth and inherited third. So of course missed out on the podium celebrations, but deservedly, because Piastri flew by him and I think gapped him by about a second a lap, chasing Mercedes cars down. Yeah, I don't know where their upgrades are, why they're not working. But I mean, the same could be said for Red Bull. Ever since they said Adrian's leaving, they haven't really developed anything special. I mean, they redid the whole rear end for that last race in Hungary, but it didn't seem to help them. Maybe it's for Zandvoort. I'm not sure. But yeah, it seems like some teams can still develop their car, and some teams have this theoretical ceiling in these regulations.
What'd you say earlier, Nerdy, about Leclerc? He was, I didn't see him once, and all of a sudden he appeared on the podium or something like that?
Yeah. That's basically, yeah, like, most of the race you didn't really hear much about him, and then all of a sudden, he inherits P3. Yeah, the Ferrari's nowhere now. Kind of like Aston Martin, they've kind of developed themselves into irrelevancy. It's just really sad. Obviously, you know how I feel about Ferrari with Lewis going the next year, so I want the best for them. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can only have X amount of teams fighting for championships. And as much as we want Ferrari, Aston, Williams, all these teams we fight at the front, there's going to be 2 or 3 teams that really excel. And right now that seems to be McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull.
Not if they all had the same car, but I digress. You can't kind of eliminate hundreds of years of history for Mercedes, Ferrari, and kind of do the same for Haas. It just doesn't make sense. I get it, but
Yeah.
It would be cool to have a Champions League one race in the season where they all jump in the same car. That would be kind of cool. But anyways, that's dreams, baby, dreams.
Yeah.
Let's talk. I'm excited. I know he might not be excited, but I'm excited to see Carlos Sainz in Williams.
Yes.
And the reason I am, and we've talked about this, is Williams is a legendary brand. They're part of the history of F1. And Sainz is not only a well liked driver by all, but he's damn fast and he's damn consistent. And you know what? Maybe with Vows there, maybe it won't take long before they start building up, getting quicker. And who knows? Maybe Sainz never leaves Williams. Maybe Sainz in a year or two doesn't go to Red Bull, doesn't go to wherever there's a spot, Ferrari. To me, I'm excited to see Sainz at Williams and Albon, assuming Williams gets their shit together and they start performing a little bit better. Maybe you go back to the original package from last year when they were a bullet in straight line and work off that. I don't know what they need to do, but I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I would love to see. We talked about this last week as well. I would love to see Williams do well. They've never been a favorite team for me, but I've always loved Williams. So if Vows can really get his stuff together and pull that team up from the ashes that they are currently in, and even have a car that can finish on the podium, like you said, consistently, that would be awesome. But I really want to see Sainz versus Albon, same machinery, because I want to see if Albon is really as good as everyone says he is. And that's going to be the first true test.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're really going to see how good Albon is and has been when he was fighting against Latifi and against Sargent, the North American pylons. To me, we're going to find out a lot about Sainz. We're going to find out a lot about Williams as a team, and I think Albon and Sainz are going to get along great. But we're also going to find out big things about Albon. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that, Sam? It's like just the prospect of them being teammates and the prospect of finally getting a good idea, which I think we already know Albon is very good. I think we already know that. He's had moments even when he was at Red Bull. But what do you think of the whole situation? And maybe even who do you think will prevail between the two?
Yeah, Albon is one of those drivers where I think he is as cracked up as people make him to be. I know he hasn't had the teammate comparison that people have wanted him to have to see if he's really that good, but I think maybe Logan and Latifi weren't as bad as people think. I think Albon really does just outperform them in that car. This is just me guessing. Of course, those were paid drivers. Of course, they were never going to be world championship potential. But you look at Albon's F2 career, people were chasing him all the time. It was him on the top step. It was him that was so highly regarded. Then you flip the book to Sainz. And Sainz is... There's this old adage of you can't make a safe driver faster. It's easier to make a faster driver safer. But Sainz is so consistently fast and makes very few mistakes. 2022, I think he's put all those gravel traps behind him. Albon's still been making a mistake, a couple here and there throughout a season. I think Sainz, despite that Williams being so much Alex Albon's team now, I think Sainz is going to come in and really show himself that he's never been a slouch. He's been holding his own against Leclerc for how many years now? He not dominated, but he's at the top of his game in McLaren. He was shining in the Renault. Everywhere he's gone, he's performed well. I don't think he's gotten the credit he's quite well deserved. I'm going to put Sainz above Albon on this one.
I agree. I agree. And I'll let you know why. But what do you think, Nerd? Do you think Sainz outperforms Albon? Maybe just slightly?
That's hard. That's a hard call. I'm gonna.
There's no wrong answer here because Albon is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna just say no for this one. Yeah, I'll play the devil's advocate here. I'm gonna say no. Albon over Sainz in the head-to-head for the season. We'll say 13-11 for races.
You know why I don't disagree is that's what I was gonna say is if both of them came into Williams at the same time, I would say Sainz. But Albon's been part of the development. He's been with that car for a few years, and that's the only I think it's gonna be super close. So I don't even know who I want to pick, but I would just give the edge to Sainz if they came in at the same time at Williams with no development advantages. I think Sainz gets him slightly because I do think highly of Albon. So I don't know. We'll find out but do you guys think that because Sainz is in Williams, it is now done deal, Antonelli to Mercedes?
Ooh. I want to say yes.
I do.
I want to say yes only because it seems like if they don't, they could potentially lose him. But based off of where he is in the championship right now, I think he's like 8th place. I don't think he's ready. Like, he would have been perfect for that second Williams seat so he can develop his skills and then go to Mercedes a year or two later. But to toss him into the Mercedes alongside George, oh man. I'm going to say no, although realistically that's probably exactly what's going to happen because they don't want to lose the talent. But yeah, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Antonelli goes there in 25. I think putting him in Mercedes a year right before regulation change is the best thing to do, because why put him a Williams team where, yeah, sure, you're Mercedes powered and have that evolutionary ladder to climb up to the Mercedes ranks, just like George Russell did. But why not get him used to the Mercedes crew? Get him used to the garage and the way they do things and how they set up their car and what setup changes and mechanic changes that there are. You might as well get situated in all of that. Get in with the reg change with the team you're already familiar with rather than do a stint at Williams. George hated his time at Williams, even though he was Mr. Saturday and highly regarded. He was always going to go to Mercedes, but now there's new kid on the block, Kimi Antonelli, that's the next Max Verstappen, quote unquote. I think they're not giving George enough credit here. George has held his own against Lewis for these couple of years that he's been his teammate, and I think George whitewashes Antonelli for 25. He's used to this car reg. He's used to these regulations, how to handle this car. He's clearly driving very well. You look at the one stop at Spa. Look at countless other times where he's outdone Lewis in qualifying. A couple of times he's beat him in a race, even strategically, or usually not outright, but sometimes he's ends up ahead one or the other. They're always fighting each other. It seems to be becoming a little bit of a Lewis and Nico situation. But I think Antonelli doesn't think he's ready, but I think he is. I think they're going to give him 25 and 26. 25 is more of a trial year, kind of like a Mick Schumacher situation where they say, hey, not expecting big things, just to ease him in comfortably, to get this spunky off his back and to show him that he is ready, because he's really started to find a little bit of form here in F2, which I think if Behrman's going in, I think Antonelli's for sure got a good chance of performing just as well in F1.
Yeah, I think you put Antonelli in. You put Yuki in the Red Bull, let the two kids battle it out for 6th and 7th, you know, something like that. Why not?
You and Yuki, man. Oh, my God.
I love my Yuki. No, but on a serious note, yeah, no, I agree with both. Like, I'm not saying he's ready, but I think it still makes sense to bring him in. So I don't disagree with you, Nerdy. He's had 2 impressive wins in F2. I've watched. The second one, he got a bit lucky. There was a safety car, and he kind of just put like fresh softs, and he ended up in 4th with like 5 laps to go. But within 3 laps or 2.5 laps, he passed these 3 cars, and he was flying. He was gone. So those flashes are like, you know, he hasn't won every race, but those flashes are impressive, especially for his age. So what is he, 17?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's crazy. So with the changes coming next year, the next point is which driver pairing is the best? And I'm going to start by giving you my top 3 because I think we're going to be in agreement here. So in no particular order,
Okay.
Piastri and Lando, Hamilton, Leclerc, and Sainz, Albon.
No disagreements.
Those are my, because we don't know who's going to Mercedes. Well, not yet.
Yeah.
Checo's not making the cut to help out Max. So I mean, I just don't see anything else. So if you have other pairings, let me know. But which of these 3 or another one do you think is the best driver pairing for next year? Now, don't worry about how good the car is or how bad the car is. Just in terms of driver talent, the pairing that's the best.
Okay, I'll go first here. I'm gonna have to give the strongest pairing to Lewis and Leclerc. Um, Between the two of them, they have the most experience. Um, I think if Leclerc can just stop making mistakes, he is going to have a real fun time with Lewis on track. I honestly don't know which of the two of them which will be faster, because I think Leclerc honestly is a gem. He's got great race pace. He's got great one lap pace. So I would love to really see a head to head between him and Hamilton. But I think between those three options, I think that's the strongest group. What about you, Simas?
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I had to take a minute to think about the teams coming up next year, and of course we have I think four teams not fully confirmed. Albeit George and Kimmy seems to be the set in stone at Mercedes. That it seems that we all somewhat agree on that. But I don't see that being a really strong pairing, being that as much as George shines, Kimmy's going to be a brand new rookie in a top team. You can't expect much from that. Checo's performing like one as well alongside Max, so Red Bull's out. But yeah, of course, Mercedes has a super strong car right now. If we're going car aside, it's going to be that McLaren. It's going to be the Ferrari team. Of course, that's the most star-studded lineup I think I've ever seen in F1. Pat, you've got more history in it to tell me if I'm wrong. I had to really think about Williams being top three driver pairings, and they're like seventh, eighth, ninth, somewhere in the championship, like way down. For them to have that strong of a driver lineup is truly incredible and speaks volumes to what they're trying to achieve, where they're going, that science believed in them enough to go there. I'm not expecting big things from Williams next season. But yeah, that's quite a fascinating thing to even bring up. I hadn't given much thought to that, but yeah, that is a very strong driver lineup for a team that's known for being super high up in the constructors, at least not in recent times.
I think the obvious answer is the Ferrari pairing. Star-studded, like you said. You're right, it's up there as one of the greatest pairings of all time in terms of name and recognition, and maybe even pace. Like, we'll see. The reason I brought in Williams into that discussion, even though the car is not that great, is those two. You put those two drivers, Sainz and Albon, in the McLaren or the Mercedes car right now, and who knows? Like, they might be winning the constructors. So I feel that strong about Albon and Sainz as a pairing, and I think they will be working as a team. I don't see them having tons of drama, and even if they're close, that's just me. But if I was to go on potential raw talent right now, everything, I know the obvious answer is Ferrari, but those McLaren boys, we already know how great Lando is, and he's to me for sure future champion, 100% going to happen. But like I've told Nerdy all the time, I think Piastri wins the championship before Lando. I think he's getting better that much quicker. I think he's getting better in the right areas. I think he's calm under pressure. So for me, it's even a tough one to say, even the Ferrari, even though it's the obvious answer, because I think that highly of Piastri. And we already know how good Lando is. So they just, of course, don't have the experience. So that's going to be different, especially when they start fighting with each other. But unless the team orders come. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Let's move on to another team. I'll start with you, CMS. Alpine announced today or last night, Bruno Famin out, new team principal Oliver Oakes is in. I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question because I already know the answer, but will it help?
Of course the answer is no. Alpine is trying trial and erroring every person they can find off the street, it seems. But this guy's more well-renowned in F2, of course, but this guy, no one knows who he is. I think they'd rather have Otmar back because at least he was likable. They're pulling in guys that no one knows who they are. No one knows where the sponsorship money's coming from. Sainz didn't trust them to go there. Obviously, that would have been one of his choices for a driver lineup, driver's seat in 2025. Didn't pick him, went to Williams instead. Just goes to show, I think Alpine's kind of in a similar situation to AlphaTauri, where they were, where it's like, dude, everybody wants you to sell. Like, just get out. You're not progressing. It's slowly getting worse. You're dropping Ocon, who, of course, terrible teammate. I mean, I'm sure Gasly was behind him wanting to leave, trying to get him out of there. But yeah, Gasly's going to be, no matter who they bring in, he's going to be head and shoulders above whoever else they bring in to be his teammate. I think Alpine, despite them being a little higher up in the constructors and saving a couple of finishes, getting a couple extra points. Of course, Ocon inheriting P9, so 2 extra points for Alpine. Last race in Spa, I think they're on a downward trajectory. It might be a little bit of a slippery slope, not much of a downfall, but they're not getting any better. I don't see them ever challenging the Formula A, as we've been calling it. They're still a good mile behind Aston Martin, and we know they're nowhere close for challenging for a win. They just seem to be able to stick around enough, but they don't really have the recognition. They don't have the pull. Doesn't seem like they have the fans. I don't speak French. I'm not much in with the French crowd. But I can't see them lasting even until 2030. I think that team's slowly coming out.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't really think it matters who you bring in. They're trying to convert a Hummer into a Ferrari to run a drag race. That's the best way I can explain it. Is that car's got nowhere to go right now.
Yep.
It's going to take forever unless you get Adrian Newey and a whole new team and start from scratch. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But we are, unfortunately for us fans, in the summer break. There is no races until August 27th, I believe, end of August. It's a summer break. Which team, Nerdy, needs the break more?
Oh boy, I'm going to say this is a toss-up between Ferrari and Red Bull. Ferrari's kind of falling apart. They really need to figure out something during that break to bring them back onto the podium. And same with Red Bull. Their car is in shambles in comparison to what it was at the beginning of the season. So I think those two teams could really use this break to maybe bring some new upgrades or reinvigorate the drivers to really start performing on track.
Yeah, I agree. I don't care that that Max is leading the championship. They want the money and they want the constructors as well. And I'm going to disregard who needs to break more when it comes to the bottom teams because it's not going to change much for them.
Yeah.
I think it's Red Bull. They need a reset. They need one, even if it's just one small upgrade that gets the car back on track. Perez needs a break. Perez needs to get out of his head. Max probably needs to cool off and just do other things, and Sim, of course. But I don't care if he's winning the championship, got more points than Norris. I think Red Bull needs to break more.
Yeah, I think it's the Red Bull family altogether that needs it. They got Lawson in the wings that's desperate for a seat, but all the fans are desperate to see him come back in and see what he can really do given a full season. I'm certain he'll outperform whatever De Vries could do.
Mm-hmm.
At this rate, it looks like he could outperform Daniel at the rate he's been doing. Yuki's slam dunking on him in points right now in the championship. They got to figure out their driver lineup. They got to figure out how to develop a car. V-Carb seemed like they had a stronger car about 6-7 races ago. They're going backwards now a little bit like an Aston Martin. To be on the fringes of points just isn't enough for Red Bull's sister team. But at this point, Red Bull, yeah, they need some sort of reshuffle. I don't know if this is Adrian Newey related, whether this is Checo not performing related, whether this is Max under pressure related and those emotions coming out of Max. This is really a test for Red Bull for leading so dominantly since 2022, 2023. 2021, they had a very strong car. Obviously, they didn't win every race. They had stiff competition with Lewis Hamilton, but they have had such a good car and such a good, well-oiled team, like strong machine, strong machinery, so many years now. They were always on the up and up. I mean, ever since 2018-19 era. Yeah, they just need to shake their head out a little bit. I mean, get the cobwebs out, learn how to, move around, sync up again, get a little bit of that chemistry back. It's definitely the Red Bull family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. So next up, the Dutch GP, Zandvoort. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a party. It's gonna be orange. It's gonna be flares everywhere. it's always a super fun track to watch on TV in terms of what's going on around the track. Just like Austria, the Red Bull Ring, it's just seems like the vibes are high. They're dancing, they're cheering their boy Max and the other drivers as well. It just seems like it's super fun track. This is after a 1 month summer break. Nerdy predictions for you, because I don't necessarily think that track suits the current Red Bull car, so I don't think Red Bull is going to be at the top.
Well, wow. Okay. It is a very fast track, and I think the track is going to cater to the McLaren. The way the Mercedes ran at Spa, they might do very well there. I think this might be another track we might see them top three, top four. But yeah, I agree. The Red Bull, I think, unless they bring some major upgrades that really change the philosophy of the car and how it handles, I think, yeah, we might see them being best of the rest. And it might be Mercedes versus McLaren at the top, yeah.
Yeah, CMS?
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to see a very similar running order to Spa. I think you're going to see a Mercedes 1-2. I'm going to put Piastri on that podium in P3. Now, I'm not sure. It's a toss-up for me between Lewis and George. Who's going to finish ahead there? Lewis typically performs well there. But George, strategically could figure out a way to make a 2-stop, a 3-stop, or a 2-stop, a 1-stop, whatever it be. George he's never afraid to try that. He has a lot of confidence in himself and his ability. Obviously, he's proved that time and time again. And I think you are going to see Max just off that podium, but finishing ahead of Lando. Lando just doesn't seem to have the edge on Max, whether that be psychologically, driver capability-wise. Lando just doesn't seem to be that put-together driver there. Whereas Max just seems to be, he's going to his backyard essentially in Zandvoort. It's going to be an orange army. It's not going to be a papaya army, despite the fans that McLaren now has been at the top, or near the top anyway. Only 2 race wins this season, of course, isn't looking great for McLaren, who's had the fastest race car for how many races now. So yeah, Mercedes clearly getting their shit together. I see them performing really well at Zandvoort, head above the rest for the upcoming race here.
Yeah, I think Russell needs to change absolutely nothing from what he did in Spa. Come in underweight, and when you bring in the car, get one of the guys to throw a 5-pound dumbbell in your car between your feet, and then we're going to be all good. And again, I've talked about him. I'm a little bit of a fanboy. I'm just going to predict that Piastri gets his second win, and yeah, hard to say. It's not going to be the Mercedes and Lando there. So I'm going to say Piastri, Hamilton, Lando for a podium. And yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun to watch. And we'll all be eager to get going because it's a month. So we'll, yeah, maybe we can do a watch party or something.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
That would be fun. Nerdy, your time to shine. This has been fun. I'll let you talk about LDR, recruitment, times, tiers, subscriptions. Go nuts, brother.
All right. So as you guys know, or you should know by now, that we run a little bit of a sim racing league here. We play F1 24, and we're going to play every iteration of F1 in the future as long as the game isn't just a piece of pile of poop. Anyways, we have 4 tiers. We have our tier 3, which is more of a development tier. It's the drivers learning their ropes, learn their racecraft. Great way to get into sim racing. We have tier 2, which is where I race. We have a couple assists. We have corner line, we have ABS, we have traction control, and I'm missing one. What am I missing, guys? It's embarrassing.
Auto gears,
yeah, that's it. I don't use those. That's embarrassing. But anyways, so yeah, those are the assist levels for that tier. And then we have tier 1, which these two phenomenal gentlemen raced in. A little bit better, but we won't talk about that. In that tier, the only assist they are allowed to use is corner line and... Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. Corner line and...
auto gears.
Auto gears.
And
auto gears. There's only there's only one or two losers that use those anyways.
Yeah,
So we'll hopefully they're listening. You know?
Exactly. And then finally, we have our elite tier, which is like our esports level racers. No assists. It's just them, the car, making magic. So if you want to squad up, definitely join. I'll put a link in the comments below. And yeah, we've got a great community. We've got tons of guys who love racing, probably just as much as you do. So if you love racing, sim racing, or just F1, come join us. Let's hang out.
Amazing, guys. This was super fun. CMS, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a blast, brother. Did you?
Oh yeah, loved being here. Love these guys. Love the community. Love F1. Why not be here?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not talk about it? Please leave a comment, subscribe, let us know what you like, don't like. This is it. This has
Smash
been
that bell.
episode 2 of the Late Dive Podcast. And be here for episode 3 in about a month.
Yes.
See ya.
Later.
Cool.